I met a Gypsy.
One of my dreams has always been to race with Jeffrey and like this year, like face to face kind of.
Yeah.
And that's why I stay also so long in MXGP, and I didn't want to come over to America or something. I just wanted to race Jeffrey. But that gives me also the how you call it, like the motivation to train hard to catch him and to be and try to beat him one day. But that also raises the level, right?
For sure, because you're pushing him.
And for sure, I'm not the only one that thinks this.
Yeah.
So that makes the sport,
And then he's at home knowing that you're coming, and it's like, I think as headstrong as Jeff is, then he's thinking about you. Like, he's worried about your performance. He's worried about your starts. He's worried.
Yeah, starts.
Like that does push the level, because he's not thinking that he can just run over Jorge Prado. Like, that's not gonna happen. And I think that is leading to that effect that you're talking about.
Yeah, and now that I was thinking also, having now more factory brands, also more riders have the opportunity to be more competitive.
Yes.
And before, having less factory brands, you had to be in that team, or you were not as competitive. And right now you have many bikes that are good. So then the level, of competition, it gets higher. And yeah, going back to Jeffrey, he's been, I think, a motivation for everyone. Knowing, they call him the fastest guy on the planet, best sun rider ever. So come on, if you have one guy like that in your championship, you want to beat him, right? Because if you beat him, then who are you then?
The best.
Yeah, you're the best then, right? So that's it. That's the motivation, right?
Yeah.
And I told Jeffrey, I always tell him when I see him, you are my motivation,
That's cool.
That's, yeah. Because I've been living in Belgium, or not anymore, but back then I was, when we moved to Belgium for 6-7 years, full-time Belgium. And Jeffrey was winning GPs and everything, and I was just a small kid, and that was my reference,
Yeah. How much faster was he than you at Lommel when you were, like, say you were on a 250, he was on a 250?
I was on a 250.
Like, say, like the first time you got on a 250, I'm assuming Jeffrey was still riding 250 class maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Because, well, the first time I raced Jeffrey, it was in 2016. So my first year 250, I was just with a stock KDM in the Dutch
Masters.
It was not Dutch Master, it was ONK. It was like a regional. Yeah, it was a different name of the championship.
Yeah.
And many other factory riders were racing back then too in the 250, and he was pretty much going. He was world champion 2016, right?
I think probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I was racing with my European bike and everything, stock. And I remember, because I knew I've been always watching a lot Jeffrey, so I knew few of his tricks. So in time practice, I stick behind him, and I knew exactly when he was going to pull the lap and everything. So I stick behind him, and he was P1, I was P2.
Yeah.
Like not over a second, but yeah, the third one was like 2.5 seconds or 3 behind us, and that was the first time. And I obviously in the races I couldn't manage to follow, but then that was like, let's say, half to 2016. But at the end of the year I did my first race in MXGP, well, MX2 class, but in the World Championship, and then I got the factory bike for that race. So I start first in the quali race,
as usual,
and he was second all the time, but he somehow couldn't pass me, and he stayed too long behind. The sand was wet. Something happened to the bike. Too much sand. And the bike stopped. So I won my first ever race on MX2.
Against
quali race.
Yeah, against Jeffrey.
And then on Sunday, we had so much rain. So much rain from Saturday to Sunday. The track was floated. And on the second moto, they flat a little bit. The track was like, yeah, because I was used to ride the sand, but not with holes like that.
Yeah.
But like a bit like lighter holes. And I start first again. And he was, I think, quite early second. And he couldn't pass me. He couldn't pass me. And then, obviously, he go by. But then I pass him back. And I remember the first time he passed me, he kind of blocked me a little bit in the corner. We were in the same ride, and I touched his rear wheel. And he was looking back, and then, what are you doing? Because he was fighting for the title. I was just one racing. And then I remember I could pass him just in front of the tribune from Holland. We were racing in Holland. Oh, man, it was crazy. The horns, everything, you know. And obviously, he passed me back, and he won the race. But I was third in my first ever MX2 race, and that was the first time I really raced Jeffrey. I was 15. And it was super cool. It was super cool because, like I said, he's been always a great reference for me. So it was nice.
Was it a surprise when you first saw him ride at Lommel on just a normal day, and you were like, "Whoa, I don't know if I can go that fast," or did you always think if he can go that fast, I can go that fast?
I never knew. I was just 85, and he was going. Sometimes even he was riding sometimes with the 450 back then already. And he was going full gas already with the 450. I'm like, this guy, why is he? I was thinking always, why is he not racing 450s?
Yeah.
Why? He's wide open. And I remember I was riding one day after school in Deurne. It's like a track in Holland.
Yeah.
Quite sandy. And no one was there. Just myself. And then one guy came with a gray van, like a Vito kind of style, and there was a bike coming out, stock 450, but there was the number 84. I was like, yeah. But Jeffrey didn't ride. It was off season. At that time, he should be no bike. He started riding so fast, and the track was so wet. Cause that's why nobody was there. Me 85, and he was 450 stock, wide open. I was like, this guy, it's crazy fast. This guy, it's crazy. He shouldn't be riding. He go to the shop and he just took one bike because the team didn't really want him to ride, and he was riding, you know.
Man, you hear some stories. You hear some stories about old Jeff, just how gnarly he is. Just whatever he wants to do, he does.
Yeah, I mean, I need to say also it's because he created that too.
Yeah.
There are many guys that we train a lot too, but he has that different kind of personality, and he built that all around him. He's the best guy and the hardest, and when he gets injured, he gets back as soon as possible. But we all do that, really. We all do that. Like I said, I raced with 2 months and 2 weeks after the break of my femur. In Matali, I go, I think 6 overall. My first ever 450 race without testing, no riding, just no feet out of the packs because I had pain in my leg. The Monday after the race, I couldn't walk around the airport. So, and I didn't get that kind of...
Yeah.
So it's also how you sell things, you know?
Yeah.
But he's been doing it great,
it's
no?
Smart.
That's why I'm also talking this with Jeffrey, you know? He's been always a reference.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool, and I think it's cool that, obviously I've spent a fair bit of time talking to him and then talking to you, and there's 2 guys doing the same thing, winning the same title under the same organization. Couldn't be more different. You are very different people.
Yeah, I mean, we are Spanish and Dutch. Come on, it's even just being Spanish and Dutch, it's already different.
Yeah.
And then you have different kind of people, right? So, but I think people says, you and Jeffrey, you're so different. But I think in many ways, we come up very close in many things, you know? I think training-wise, I'm not riding 5 days a week, but I'm riding a lot too. And I'm training a lot too. And maybe in a different way, but the amount of training that I do, it's a lot. It's a lot. And the way of, I think, approaching to a race and everything, this is a bit different. He wants to be P1 in fair practice. He wants to be P1 time practice, warm-up. I don't need that. I only need to be good at the end of the day or good at the end of the championship. So that's a bit different approach to the racing, and that kind of mentality is different. But I think in the side of training, I think we are quite similar. We also try, because I know him a little bit, and he always tries to see also and he always tries to search perfection. And he's always looking a lot to other riders to search, okay, if he's doing that, I think I will, I can improve too. And I do that too. Yeah. So I look a lot and I try to learn from everyone. And that's something that I think makes us improve and get better.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.